Hi, bestie.
All right. Are we
Yeah,
getting
it
started?
should.
Hi, Faye. Hi, Mark. Hi, Pauline.
So glad to have you all with us. We're going to go ahead and get started.
Kitty cat.
Hey, did other people have to sign in differently today? It asked me for my email and my password. It doesn't usually do that. I don't know why.
I was glad to see it.
Oh, occasionally Zoom
again.
updates
One more
and then
time, you
it'll
won't go
ask
to
you
the
to
stage.
sign in again.
Gotcha.
So maybe it's been that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was probably it. Thanks.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and hit mute if you have not yet. I'm Reverend Elizabeth. I'm the minister here at First UU Church of Indiana, Pennsylvania. And on behalf of the entire congregation, thank you for being here, whether you're on Zoom or following along via YouTube. We're going to ask at this time that you make sure you're muted and remain muted until coffee hour begins. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Do send an email to office@firstuu-indianapa.org and let us know if you'd like to join our newsletter mailing list. If you have the bandwidth to turn your camera here on in the Zoom room, that's wonderful. For many of us, seeing one another's faces is a really important part of how we feel connected on Sundays. And also for Zoom folks, you'll see a little speech bubble. It's about the middle of your toolbar, just below the video screen. It's labeled chat, and we use that feature for greetings and for joys and concerns during the service. The First UU Church of Indiana, Pennsylvania is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. We are self-governing congregations united in a web of mutuality that creates our denomination. We don't have a creed or a doctrine. Rather, we teach all individuals have the right and responsibility to discern and follow their own spiritual paths. We come together to support and assist one another on our journeys and to build the beloved community together. I invite you to stay after the service to greet one another and rejoice in our mutual presence. We'll open up the microphones on Zoom for coffee hour, and folks here will be welcome to greet one another at that time. Also, a special announcement, please do join us for a fire and outdoor fellowship to welcome the solstice together on Monday evening. You can check your newsletter for just a few more details, but come out tomorrow with a camp chair, ready to roast a marshmallow, have some hot chocolate or cider, and welcome the longest night of the year. And now I invite you to take a gentle breath and settle yourself into a spirit of worship. Our opening hymn is number 55, The Dark of Winter.
Often still
out of the cold winter air we gather, as people have gathered for centuries in times of darkness to call out for the light. In this gathering of friends, let us take these few moments we have set aside to breathe deeply, pause in preparation, welcome the stillness. Honor this winter time as a season of mystery, absence, and silence. Allow ourselves to be stripped bare like the trees and the rose bushes. Rest, reflect, surrender into grace. And now, let us light our chalice flame. On Zoom, you may type "the flame is lit" and say where you are joining us from in the chat bar. As solstice approaches, in honor of ancient traditions that celebrate this time of long night, we observe that the flaming chalice holds the elements of the four directions: earth, air, fire, and water. The lamp oil for earth, the air that feeds the flame, the fire we shall light, and the chalice itself, the cup, the symbol of water. So let us speak together. Oh, Eric, can you bring up our chalice lighting words for a moment? Thank you. We light our chalice and reflect on the light we need to guide us through hard times, the light of our shared faith, the light of loving community, the light of love, joy, and hope. And now, our time for all ages. Today's time for all ages is a poem by Susan Cooper. And I'm out of practice on sharing things, so we're going to see how this works. The shortest day. Oops. My apologies. I am a little out of practice on this whole screen sharing thing. Eric, I salute you. You've been doing this for a couple of months, and I am
It looks good when you were sharing. I could share it from my end if you'd like.
Um,
Oh, I guess I don't have the link, so maybe not.
I think I can, and I need to bring up the same thing on my phone because I can't read the presenter's notes while I'm presenting.
Right.
So I'd like us all to take a moment and meditate on imperfection in these moments of the year that are a little bit silly sometimes. And I thank you for your patience. All right, let's try this one more time. And so, the shortest day came, and the year died. And everywhere down the centuries of the snow-white world came people, singing and dancing to drive the dark away. They lighted candles in the winter trees. They hung their homes with evergreen. They burned beseeching fires all night long to keep the year alive. And when the New Year's sunshine blazed awake, they shouted, reveling. Through all the frosty ages, you can hear them echoing behind us. Listen. All the long echoes sing this same delight, this shortest day. As promise wakens in the sleeping land, they carol, feast, give thanks, and dearly love their friends, and hope for peace. And now, so do we, here now, this year and every year. Welcome, Yule. Today is a day to think about the old year as the longest night comes to us, to ponder, to wonder, to worship, and to be thankful for one another. And so now, we invite you to be in community with one another and to pass a sign of peace with each other online by typing a short blessing for those present in our chat, saying, peace be with you, namaste, shalom, blessed morning, salam alaikum, bright blessings, blessed be. Thank you for sharing your blessings with one another. And I will invite you to join in singing our congregational hymn. It's number 128, For All That Is Our Life. And the words are in the video as it plays.
life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
And now, let us turn to Judith Yothers, who will share with us a little about the Virgen de Guadalupe.
I think you may still be on mute, Judith.
There we go. Is that better?
That's great.
Okay. Those of us who study Spanish for any length of time discover that there are 22 different countries where that language is spoken, and there are traditions all over the place, from religious festivals to the Days of the Dead, and it goes on and on, no matter where you are. The flag, actually it's a blanket that I discovered somewhere in Big Lots of all places. The Virgen de Guadalupe, the Virgin of Guadalupe, is the patron saint of Mexico. When we study history in this country, we probably will hear about 1492, but we forget about the other 3 voyages that Columbus made. And we hear about 1620 because the Pilgrims arrived, and there was a large conflict no matter where they went, the red man as opposed to the white man, et cetera, et cetera. But this particular story follows the life of a young man, a young Indian named Juan Diego. And in the year 1613, excuse me, he was in the process of learning about Christianity and changing from the multitudinous gods of his ancestors. And there was a hillside where there had never been any flowers growing. It was all sandy. And Juan was told one way or another, whether it by the priest or by the Virgin, go there and pick some roses. And he was in doubt that he was going to find anything, but he did. And he took several handfuls of roses and wrapped them in his serape. And then he went back down the hill to his own little village. And in the process of wrapping those roses in the serape, he discovered the next day that the flowers had melted into the fabric of his serape. And that particular piece of clothing is on display in many, many churches around Mexico because it's considered to be a miracle of the Christian faith. And those of us who are by nature Protestant, as opposed to the supposedly recovering Catholics in our congregation, we all seem to understand that Guadalupe is a very important character. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for giving us a little of that history. And now our centering words are by the Reverend Rebecca Parker.
Perhaps for a moment, the typewriters will stop clicking, the wheels stop rolling, the computers desist from computing, and a hush will fall over the city. For an instant in the stillness, the chiming of the celestial spheres will be heard as Earth hangs poised in the crystalline darkness, and then gracefully tilts. Let there be a season when holiness is heard, and the splendor of living is revealed. Stunned to stillness by beauty, we remember who we are and why we are here. There are inexplicable mysteries. We are not alone. In the universe, there moves a wild one whose gestures alter Earth's axis toward love. In the immense darkness, everything spins with joy. The cosmos enfolds us. We are caught in a web of stars, cradled in a swaying embrace, rocked by the holy night, babes of the universe. Let this be the time we wake to life, like spring wakes in the moment of winter solstice.
And now, during our centering music, take a moment to breathe into that silent pause And if you have joys or sorrows you would like spoken aloud, please write them in the chat at this time, and they will be woven into our shared pastoral prayer. Our centering music comes from Wendy Bartell.
The harvest is over, the cold settles in. The nights are getting longer, the chilly winter wind. And I whisper in the moonlight, when will sun return? And I whisper in the moonlight, when will sun return? The animals hibernate, snow may begin. The evergreens listen, nearing solstice again. And I whisper in the moonlight, when will sun return? And I whisper in the moonlight, when will sun return? I sit here and reflect on the year that has passed. My family and friendships, time goes by so fast. And I whisper in the moonlight, when will sun return? And I whisper in the moonlight, when will sun return? There are school plays, there are presents, and zooming with friends. There's church and time to ponder, we look deep within. Then I whisper in the moonlight, when will peace return? Then I whisper in the moonlight, when will light return?
Today, Spirit of life, Spirit of love, let us join together and be with one another in a spirit of prayer. For this is the cold time, the dark time, the waiting time of the year. And in that space, let us pause and let us reach out to one another. Let us offer healing light to Kyle's family and child who is in the ER awaiting a bed. May all in this family be offered peace and love and healing. To Nana, whose mother is in the hospital after surgery last Monday, let us hold in tender care her mother who is choosing not to eat, and Nana and all her family who are with her in worry and love and care. Let us also hold in our care the Sims family. Thanks for Glenn's continuing stable health, hope for children coming home to visit for their safe travels, and for everyone's well-being. And let us offer our prayers, our anticipation with Judith and Juanita as their house continues to be built, the kitchen countertop being measured, the paint colors picked out, and most of the first floor already painted. It is the waiting time of the year, yet so much is turning in bud, so much for which waiting is the only solution. Blessed Spirit of life, help us to wait. Help us to hold patience and caring. Help us to be with one another. We may not always know what to do, yet the act of being present, let it be enough. And so, for all that is good, for all we anticipate, let us offer thanks. For that which is difficult, let us offer comfort. For the turning and changing of the seasons, the flow of life, let us offer up to it our willingness to be changed, to be transformed. And so, let us be together in this space and offer peace. Amen, and blessed be. And now we come to that time in our service where we share the plate, giving a portion of every week's donation to an organization beyond the church as part of our congregation's mission to promote compassionate and responsible thought and action in the world. So we give back to the community. When you give this morning, know that you are making an impact in the wider community through that shared giving. And each December, our Share the Plate recipient is ICAP. The Power Pack program sends home food and necessities for children for whom school lunches provide a reliable nutritional supplement to family incomes that are often not enough to sustain everyone within the home. These Power Packs make sure that vacation time, that which comes as a blessing for so many of us, does not become a time of deprivation for families in need of help this holiday season. We're so glad to be able to offer this once again this year, and for all of you who take seriously the call of our shared faith to give beyond our walls, to foster equity and compassion, to build a world filled with peace and joy this holiday season. So please give generously as you are able to the work of this church. You can give via PayPal, office@firstuu-indianapa.org. And if you'd like to stop by to drop off cash or a check, you're welcome to do that as well, or just pop a check in the mail. We'll join now in singing our offertory hymn, From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live.
Today, rather than a sermon, I'd like to start us off with a meditation by Lynn Cox. We pause as the path of the sun reverses, seemingly holding its place for a moment of turning. Let us delve into the gifts of darkness at the winter solstice. We follow curiosity and contemplation down into the cold earth, taking a journey toward the world below the surface. Here we find acorns, cached by squirrels and chipmunks, perhaps to be food laid in store, perhaps to become trees in the fullness of time. We find the burrows of hibernating animals, those who sleep and repair. We find seeds, including some that will not sprout unless they first wait through frost and ice. Life finds rest and renewal in the darkness. May those who are weary find comfort. May those who are struggling find meaning and companionship. May those who are injured or ill find recovery. May those who hunger find abundance. Let this be a time of healing, and may the dreams of the dark lead us to share those gifts with one another. Our imagination rises back to the surface, to life, where the cold ground meets the crisp air. Here, we observe life finding its way. We observe animals eating seeds left on the ground, though the harvest is long past. We notice the migration of birds, natural movement that allows populations to find places where they can thrive. We observe the trees that appear to sleep, and yet hold sap that will rise again before the spring arrives. We observe that not everything lives through the winter, and yet all that has lived returns to the earth and is transformed. Let this be a time of resilience. May the changing seasons bring new meaning and new insights. May creativity and persistence lead us to find resources for all to share. May those who migrate find safety, and may there be good news on the wind. May transformation lead us onward. We now shift our imagination to the sky, to the returning sun and the brilliant winter night. Shifting hours of light and darkness remind us that change is part of the rhythm of the universe, and so trouble does not last. Acknowledging the gifts of darkness, we also look forward to the growing light, a change that brings glimmers of hope. We marvel at the beauty of this time. Stars unobstructed by leaves, jewels of the night shining over the land, moon and meteors inspiring us to awe and wonder. Let this be a time of celebration. What joy can be found? Let us hold it close. Blow on its embers and share its spark. We do not take for granted having come this far, and we give thanks for our companions on the journey. We continue our meditation in silence and then in song. This is the season. This is Advent, the time of anticipation. This is solstice, the darkest time of the year. This is Yule. This is that moment when we draw inward. It is the coldest time of the year. And yet, as we have meditated upon, all of life requires that there be seasons, that there be change, that the cold times exist, for without them, some seeds could not grow. Without difficult times, we might be the less, for we would have nothing to contrast our joy with. The cold times are moments when the fields lie fallow. They let us catch up to ourselves, to ponder, perhaps to do crafts with our families and bring back some of that artistic spirit that gets lost in the hustle and bustle of life, or perhaps to turn inward, to get a warm beverage and simply sit by a fire. They are pondering times. They are times of anticipation. The solstice, in its traditional forms, is a time when the winter has not yet properly begun, and yet the days cease to grow shorter, and anticipation begins. In the Christian tradition, it is the birth of a baby who will change the world. In the pagan tradition, it is the defeat of the holly king by the oak king. So many good stories. And yet, when the Virgin says yes, she dreams of the end of oppression. In the Magnificat, but it is not yet. If we remember the Christmas story, the birth of a child is a miracle. But then, this traveling family, forced to be in an unfamiliar place, crowded with animals, warm enough, but not home. This family then has to flee the country with a baby, or perhaps a toddler. They come back only years later with a young teenager who, according to some apocrypha at least, doesn't yet know how to use his powers appropriately, bothers the neighbors by resurrecting lizards. It is not until Jesus is 30 years old that he begins to preach and prophesy and heal to great effect. Miracles come into being slowly. The fallow times are important. Sometimes changes are imperceptible. Sometimes miracles take years, lifetimes, centuries to come into the fullness of their being. Just as the return of the sun heralds the winter's turning, yet spring will not come for months to come. And yet, in this moment, let us pause. Let us let the dark be spacious and the light come slowly. For we know, we trust that cycles shall continue, that grief and joy can coexist, that so much shall ebb away and new life shall come, for it is the way of things. So may it be, and may your holiday season leave room for joy, for quiet, for darkness and light. Amen. And our closing words come from David Breton, who says, "The solstices teach us. The darkness comes, that darkness goes. The solstices teach us that light comes, that light goes. The solstices teach us calmly, silently, to be calm, silent, learning. The solstices teach us, as we circle the sun, that everything flies. The solstices teach us to remember the dark, to remember the light, to remember time, the seasons, and love as we circle the sun." So in honor of that quiet, pondering time in which we may hear the still, small voice within, let us sing along with our closing hymn. It's number 1040, Hush. And the words will be on screen.
Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush,
invite you to say with me the words to extinguish the chalice together. We extinguish our chalice flame, but not the light of truth, nor the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our benediction comes from the Reverend Christine Robinson, who says, "Solstice is a time of pause. So pause, breathe, relax, rest, be at peace. Spirit of winter rest, help us to enjoy your peace in this quiet place. Remind us to pause during this season. Grant us awareness. Keep our gratitude fresh each day. May the songs in our heart be blessings and insights to us and to others, and may compassion always shine forth from the depths of our hearts." Blessed be, and go in peace. You are now welcome to unmute your microphones as you desire for our